Welcome to another episode of Sense&Rants. I am Mutarayo Adeola. On today's episode, we are talking about personal joy. And I am joined by my friends Uzi and George. Let's meet them. All right. Uzi and George, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having
Would you
me.
please introduce yourself again to the new people or whoever doesn't know you by now?
Okay, I would go first. My name is Uzi. I live in the UK. I'm a PhD student, and yep, I just love this podcast. Amazing.
Thank you, George.
Hello, everybody. My name is George. I'm a master's degree student, and I love conversations. I just love having conversations because I bring a lot to the table. Like, come on, right?
You know what? It's not lying, but okay.
Let's put a pin on that one.
Okay. So today we're talking about personal joy. Let's start by saying, what does that mean to you? What does it look like to you as individuals?
I think for me, personal joy is a state of being. It's a state of being. It's not an emotion that comes and goes. It's just a state of being. And for me, it means contentment, because when you're content, you just feel this sense of, joy. Everything is joyful. Everything is great. Even when it's raining, it's like, oh, this looks amazing. But then, that's what I think personal joy is for me. It's just that sense of being content, happy within yourself. I don't want to use the word happy because I feel they are different, but joyful.
That's something we actually talk about, because if you like, people tell you, oh, be happy, or you should be happy, but that's not joyful. These are two different things. No. Happiness is fleeting, it comes and goes. Joy is constant. It's just
joy is just a state of being. Yeah, that's for me though.
All right, so we'll come back to that other part, but George?
So for me, I feel like same thing with same as Zuzi said, it's as a state of being. For me, it's more like it's stronger in a sense, because it's me being able to witness or being able to get the everything that I want, or not everything I want. Okay, me being able to be satisfied with what I have in the moment, or even after that moment, and being able to be not selfish, but I'll say selfless, to the point where I'm like able to connect with everything around me, and also connect with my inner peace. So inner peace and everything around me, and I'm able to branch out. That's me. It could also be a little sprinkle of like some sort of spiritual slash wusa inward kind of like feeling, where you're like, you sit and in a sense take stock of everything that you have, and you're not necessarily going out of your way to want more, but you are just putting together what you have currently and reveling in it, just being able to cherish it in that moment.
It's actually very funny, because when I saw the distinction of happiness and joy, for me, it was in a book that I was reading. Was it a book? More like a little pamphlet that it's Christian based, and they were talking about, what will make you happy is not necessarily the things that will give you joy. And I was like, hold on, let's clarify. And I went, I read it further, and it actually talked about career, about your personal growth, about your relationship with God, if that's for you, and how some things that you feel like will make you happy. You get the job. It might make you happy when you get that letter of employment that says you make 6 figures and that's your dream job. But when you do the job, does it give you joy? And I was like, that's interesting. I never really thought about it like that. But what does joy look like to you now? I think for me personally, I would say like peaceful, like being at peace with things around me. Even when things are not going the way I want, I still, not always, but right now, I'm trying to be at peace with things as they happen. What does that look like for you?
For me, I feel like, because growing up as a member of a very large family,
Mm-hmm.
I factor that a lot into my perspectives on everything I do in life. And for me, joy, or the thing that brings me so much joy, is being able to see my family, especially my family and friends, be uh, gods and goddesses in their own rights, being able to grow in their own perspectives. And if there's one thing I really, really cherish, is my friendships and my relationships, because I know for a fact that growing up in a large family, you're always thought to be your brothers and your sisters' keeper, and you're always thought to look out for each other. So for me, being able to sit and watch and cherish another person's growth is something that brings me joy, because I see myself in that person, and I see that success as my success. I see that growth as my growth. And I'm delighted because I know, in one way I've contributed to that, or I've been able to help that person achieve that, or I've been part of that process in a sense. Or even if I'm not part of that process, I can say that, I knew that person growing up, or I came in contact with that person, or this person is really good at what the person is doing. So being able to see all of that, for me, that is my kind of joy. And I just don't know why people don't appreciate these things more, because nobody's in a competition with anybody. But at the end of the day, being
That's also
able
because
to,
of how you were raised. You were raised to share with a lot of other people. Other people were raised differently, and that would also influence how they view competition or otherwise. But
yeah.
yes, George is a huge supporter of people enjoying.
just like I always tell Uzi, that by the time that that PhD is done, I'll be front row and center. It will be my PhD. You put your
It
name,
will
I'm
be
like,
it will
it's
be
my
our
PhD.
PhD.
Assistant doctor.
Because that is me. That is
Yeah.
typically me. Because now that a PhD is something that I'm not even in, like, I'm not interested in anymore. But I'm going to share in that, because I feel like I
I
have invested in
contributed.
that PhD emotionally and otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
That's
actually
me.
very funny because like I was talking to someone and they were like, "Oh, are you getting a PhD?" And I was like, "Let's see." My mother only had like middle school education. I went to high school. I have my bachelor's. I'm getting my master's. I think I'll give something to my kids so they can actually outdo their mother. But for me personally, I don't
This
see
is where
That
PhD
is
this
right
is where
smart.
we hang the boots.
That is smart.
bruh. Mm-mm. So let them give me honorary from Harvard or something. But me actually going to school for it is a no bueno. Uzi.
um, I think for me, joy comes from solutions. It's hard to explain. Like I love what gives me joy is providing solutions to people. It could be anything. It could be someone is just stuck in something and it could just be a listening ear. It could be actually providing an advice or a solution to, oh, maybe try this, maybe try that. And what gives me even greater joy is seeing things just work, either for myself or for other people. Things just fall in place, progress, growth. It gives me so much joy. And if I look at it from my family background, like my parents are professors, right? And we know how academic thingies work in Nigeria. It's crazy. Like you say, sometimes you see your parents on strike, schools on strike, and everybody's just chilling at home. And but then now I look back at it and I see how my parents have grown from where they were, like junior lecturer, senior lecturer, professors, and it's been such a steady process for them, and one that has been brought about through sheer hard work and just sheer perseverance. And then seeing them pass on, like give so much of themselves to not just us, but extended family, even strangers. Like my house is literally that house that George right now I can just go home with George and my mom will make a meal for George, whether she's met him before or not. we have an open door policy, bring anybody, come you, come all. And just seeing people benefit from my parents' knowledge and from their generosity, and just seeing people get better off from that has put me in a position where I feel if I'm not doing things for people, like I do not have a lot of joy. Like helping people in any way, providing solutions to people in any way gives me joy, and I just love to do it. And yeah, so that's what joy looks like to me. Most times it's not even about myself. Happiness is about myself, but then when I can look at how I've contributed to other people's process, then that gives me joy.
It's actually very interesting because I took a leadership class and like recently, and if I were to like grade you guys or like put you in a class, both of you into some sort of leadership classes, I'll put you as like servant leaders, which is weird because I never Uzi, yes, George, I did not think that is the kind of person who would be, but hey, here you go, you surprised me. But yeah, that's actually
Can I,
very interesting. But
can
okay.
I also add a little bit of a thing? Because for me as well, as a first generation immigrant,
As a
that
self-migrated immigrant. First generation, your kids are the first gen. You are the
no,
immigrants. Go, go, go.
no,
Let's
let's get the facts right.
go.
But yeah, as an immigrant, like I feel like
Wait,
being
wait, wait,
able
sorry.
to.
This boy
Mhm.
really said first gen Uzi.
First
Can you
generation. I
imagine?
actually said first gen.
My ancestors could have been here. Nobody knows.
But they're not. They're in Akwa Ibom. But continue.
Go and
All
trace
the
my
way in
lineage.
Akash.
Trace my lineage all the way back. We started in the abroad, and then
Yeah,
things
bro.
happened.
Okay.
No, I actually like using that because I don't want people. I don't want to make myself look like no, feel like oh yeah, I took my own horn too much because I always feel like being being able to see others navigate immigration and stuff in its own right is something that has helped me. So I can't really say that I am the OG immigrant because in a sense, I've read about other people's experiences. So I kind of like people have been there, done that in a sense. So, but
Yeah, but just because your experience is easier
yeah,
compared to other people doesn't mean it's still not worthy of being told just the
Yeah.
way it
yeah.
is. So don't take that away from me.
Okay. So work experience, being the work that I do in social services, the work that I do as a result of my education, and being able to go into a field where I can actually be of service to people has been really, really rewarding for me. And for me, for those 7 years that I've done that, um, to put it in context, I work in law enforcement and I work in social services. So I work with people with addictions, people with issues, and people that are going through stuff. And being able to help somebody even navigate like the simplest of things, like being able to understand that an addiction is a disease, or an addiction is something that they can work through. An addiction is not as a result of them falling through the cracks. It's a result of what has happened in their lives, and just helping people change that line of thought and that way of thinking to understand themselves and understand the role that they play in society. Just like Uzi says, just being able to help people see that is, for me, personal joy, because it's hard out here for people. And you being in the space where you blame yourself, you are critical of yourself, it just makes it harder. And helping people understand that you're a human being. People could theorize that rational thought is, is out there for everybody to tap into, or let's say the common one, like common sense is common. But I mean,
Is it
it's
though?
not. It's not
Nope.
really. It's not really common. So like
Yeah.
helping people understand that is just something that I I feel like for me it's personal joy in a big way, because like it's just being able to, help people get on that elevator to where they need to be, and helping people understand that, you know uh, it's being able to witness how people can, get maybe something like as simple as getting justice, or
Mm,
people something as simple as being able to understand what is happening around them. For me,
yeah.
that's a big part of personal joy as well.
That's actually very interesting because growing up, right, or at least even up until recently, personal joy for me used to be attached with achievements, things that
Mm,
the goals for myself. But as pandemic, I said everybody else, what you think is not what you're thinking, or what you're seeing is not what you get, if that's the right way to say. But like, so up until recently, my joy was attached to like the things I could do, the labels that I had, or the kind of job I was doing, just something like that. But I got this assignment to do vaccination for my state. um at first I didn't really think much about it. Like, I didn't think about, people's lives to probably get saved or whatever. But I remember a woman coming in and she was crying after getting a vaccine. And people like came to get me as the lead, like, okay, we have a breakdown situation that they don't know how to talk to her. So I walked over to her, like, ma'am, what's going on? Just talk to me like a regular person. Um, and I remember like she was crying because a family member isn't even she lost families to COVID, and they didn't even have the chance to get it, and here she is getting it even though they were like the same age group or something. So helping her talk through that guilt, but also knowing that this woman now knows that there's a chance for her to live 10, 15, 20 years more just because of this vaccine.
mhm.
That for me was the turning point of, oh, you know I think this little thing matters. I think
Yeah.
this little thing that I'm doing matters. And then I saw like a pregnant woman come in, obviously pregnant, about to give birth, but she really wanted to take it so that a child could have the what is it called?
The antibodies and
Yeah.
the immunity.
And
Yeah.
then, she was talking to me about how excited she was and blah blah blah. And I was just like looking at her like, and she kept thanking me, and I was just like, I'm not really doing anything. But like looking back and thinking about it, it's like, oh, okay, there's a little child somewhere in this state, in this world,
that is
whose mother.
that is COVID resistant.
Exactly. Exactly. So like now I'm beginning to learn that, my joy doesn't have to come from the completion of a big goal. It can be the little
Mm,
things.
the little things,
Um,
yeah.
and that will bring me to my next question of like, what in the past have you relied on to influence your personal joy for you?
Lizzie, do you want to
Hmm.
go first?
Yeah, I think I'll go first.
Okay.
I think, yeah, like you've said, it's been a process. Initially, we mistake, I think when you're growing young, you mistake happiness for joy. That rush you
Mm,
feel when something great happens. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. It's such a
Mhm.
joyful moment. But it's so fleeting. And then when it's done, you go chasing after the next thing, and you go chasing after the next and after the next. And some time ago, I read about it. It's called like hedonic adaptation, where people revert back to their original levels of happiness after that
Mhm.
initial rush.
Yeah.
So people who win the
mm,
lottery, for instance, 1 year after winning the lottery, you might be as unhappy as you were before winning the lottery because you've run out of the initial high of
Mhm.
being rich. And so I think for me, when I then realized that what really gives me that lasting feeling of peace, of contentment and stuff was seeing how I've helped other people of, even if it's like in little ways, then I've gone out of my way to kind of do those things more. So a good example was sometime last year, I woke up and there was this text message on my phone. And it was a really long ass message. And the message was literally saying, oh, Uzi, I know you might not remember this, but 3 years ago, we had a conversation when we were working out, and you were basically telling me about how to go about getting a scholarship and stuff. You might have thought it was just a regular conversation, but this morning I got a scholarship, like, and I did
right.
everything you told me that day. And I just followed everything. And in my head, I was like, oh my days. Now, this was a conversation I had with someone. There was no intention towards it. It was just,
Mhm.
oh, if you're thinking about this, this is how you should go about it. And then she paid attention and she did her part. And when I read that message, I felt so happy because then I started thinking, think about all the other little conversations I've had with people, like just off the bat, like, oh yeah, you should try this. Oh yeah, you should do this. And it's just been great. And sometimes I do wake up to messages like that, like from people I know, and they're like, oh, Izzy, thanks for encouraging me. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. And that gives me so much joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've come to rely on for my sense of joy, is just knowing that somewhere, somehow, there is somebody that I have made a difference for, even when I wasn't out to do that, like even when that was not my intention, but I have managed to do that. So now I'm a bit more intentional towards it. So I am much more likely to volunteer to talk about something, or to, actually be intentional, not just having random conversations with people. So I think for me, that has become like my source of joy, just trying to be that bright light to people.
Love it. Love it. George?
For me, I actually wrote 3 things down.
Always
Newscaster
right.
George.
Oh, because
Guys, if you
I don't want to miss
if you guys
anything.
literally have not seen George on previous episodes, you should go. Literally, George always comes to this podcast with a pen and a paper, and he comes ready with like, oh yeah,
Walai,
here are my points.
human
Go ahead.
resources assistant, Lovo. so, so for me, the first one in the past has been education, and I'll say that is a really, really big one for me, because growing up, typical Nigerian educational institution, they tell you, okay, if you're not part of the big 5 occupations, forget about being able to afford anything, or be able to survive, or be able to get the connections. And growing up, I thought, okay, I need to find my way into one of the big 5, or find and know people that are part of the big 5 and cultivate that, because my core group of friends, or being picky about my friends to ensure that, these are friends that actually have future ambitions, not the ones that don't have any future ambitions.
Not the ones that want to be a writer like us.
No. Your situation is different.
I will win Oscars, George.
You
I'm
are
not
you are a
mentioning
writer. That lie. They say that condition will make crayfish bed. Your condition is not one that. Your own is one that enhances your bending. So you're a writer in the US, so you gotta stress that.
I'm a Nigerian writer.
A Nigerian writer living abroad.
I don't know about the other part, but I am the Nigerian writer. I'm a Yoruba writer.
I thank you. Yeah, you are a Chimamanda. Seriously, you're not a Babio, or even a Babio. A Babio is
Susie, you are cancelled.
turning boots. But yeah, so being able to get that part, that is number one aspect of the past. And also the second one was like familiar friends. So touching on that education part, being guarded about the friendships, or guarded about the connections I make, or I make concerning my social circle, and not being flexible about letting other people in that could ruin that personal joy, or not being able to take a risk or take a chance. And like there are people that, like Uzi's, I'm not sure if your friend you met in the gym was actually somebody that you've known for a bit, or is it somebody that you met in the gym. So that situation, for instance, if I go to the gym, not being flexible enough to maybe reach out and ask questions, or even have the guts to talk about my personal struggles or my life with somebody that I don't really know like that, is something that has made me, guarded about my has actually influenced the way I see my personal joy. And the last one is family values. And back to the fact that, growing up Nigerian and growing up with all these strict values, you can't, come back home at a certain point in the night. So you can't even bring friends home. You can't even not bring friends home in that sense if it's not education related kind of friends, or if the friend is not adding to anything. And Nigerian parents, they can tell who is the wayward one and who is not, even if they're not right.
I can smell you from afar, literally.
Yeah. So being able to be flexible about all these 3 things: your education, your family values, your familiar friends, and your social circle, it opens you up to a world of possibilities. Like, I didn't really start or think about traveling when I moved to Canada, because my parents were like, education is what you wanted. That's the main focus. Every other thing is not available to you right now. But being able to travel and being able to, go out there and see the world and make connections, that added a lot to my own personal joy. And just being able to get these opportunities is stuff that for now I am trying to enhance that more, because stress and all these other things for me, just book a trip. Just that's the best way to my heart right now. Book
This
a
is a
trip for
wicked
me.
trip. I love it.
That is it. I told my professor, my supervisor for my dissertation, that am having writer's block. I feel like I might need a vacation out of this country to go and sit down on the beach and write. She was like, okay, maybe you want to like come back to earth a little bit. There is a pandemic happening. I was like, well, it couldn't hurt. So things like that for me is, comparing the past and the present is really, really important.
I love it. I actually love what your answer is actually.
Yeah.
So let's talk about joy and happiness. So Joy Uzi rightfully said, it comes and goes. But as no, happiness comes and goes. Happiness comes and goes, and joy is a state of being. Um, Recently, I find myself like comparing, and of course they said comparison is like the killer of everything joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but what does happiness, what does that mean to you compared to like, your joy that we've already talked about? How does it differ, I guess?
Um, I think for me, I mean, people who know me in real life, I'm a very bubbly person. Like, I'm
Bruh,
always
you are
very
like
bubbly.
I'm just like, where do you get your energy from? You need to like box it out in
Exactly.
the mail and send it to me, cause
Yeah.
child.
I get that a lot. I'm a very alive person. But I do get these moments where I'm a bit quiet, right?
Mm.
And in my house, literally, when I go quiet, even my mom goes, Uzi, is everything all right? Are you okay? Is this? Is this that? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. Now, in that moment, I am content. I am just fine. I am joyful, but I'm not happy. So nothing is wrong. I'm not sad, but I'm not happy either. I'm just like,
Yeah.
steady, cruising, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens in that moment is because I already have this inner joy, I don't feel moody. I don't feel depressed. I'm just okay, not happy, but just fine. And for me, what brings me happiness? There are little things that brings me happiness. Like obviously money. I'm sure
Hey,
money makes me
evil
happy. I
woman
won't even
that
lie
you
about that.
is.
Like
Evil woman
money,
Yeah.
that.
money makes me happy. Getting a credit alert. Oh my lord. Amazing.
I mean, beautiful, fantabulous.
And in the same vein, being with people makes me happy. I'm a people person. So being with people makes me happy. And then when I just get time to be by myself, like watch a movie, read a book, those things make me happy. But at the same time, they are not sustainable. Like they are not
Yeah.
persistence is the word. You could feel happy in the morning and in the afternoon it's like, not that great.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was your question again? I feel like I'm rambling.
No. What's the difference?
Differences between the
How
two,
does
right?
happiness differ from joy for
Yeah.
you?
So for me, it's that feeling that joy and happiness is a little things give me happiness. Like there are these things here and there. I can tell exactly what's making me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ask me, oh, why are you happy? I'll be like, oh yeah, this
Ice
happened and
cream.
I'm so happy about it. Yeah. And I know exactly what's making me happy. On the other hand, with joy, it's almost inexplicable. Like I can't really say why I feel so much joy. Like I can just be smiling and I just feel it inside. There's this lightness. Like you feel light on the inside and you're just like bouncing along and you just feel this sense of contentment. Anytime I think of joy, I think of contentment. And I think for me, this sense of joy, in a way, it ties a bit into confidence as well, because you are confident in your abilities, you're confident in who you are as a person. And so there's not room for what you said, comparison, to then come and steal your joy in little, little ways. And in a way, it all ties into a lot of things. Because when I think of my upbringing, it's quite different from George's. Because my mom's mantra is traveling is a part of education. So we started traveling really young. And for my mom, that's just the way it is. And she just believed like you have to experience things to then know. How would you know what you like if you've not tried things? That was her mantra. And growing up then, she would take us to restaurants. And even as tiny little kids, she would give us the menu and let us order by ourselves. If you mess it up, well, you know better
It's
next
what you
time.
got. Wow.
Yeah. Like next time, okay, I shouldn't order a fried egg when what I wanted was an omelette. And there it is, staring at you sunny side up, and you're wondering what the hell is this? Uh, yeah. So all those experiences then brought me a sense of self-assuredness, self-awareness. I'm not really I'm not really someone that compares myself with people, because I am really aware of who I am and what I am about. And so in that sense, there's really nothing to steal my joy. I understand failure and I understand it is temporary. I understand delays and I understand it is temporary. But then in the same way, I know what I am capable of. I know what my abilities. I'm confident in those things. And so I can wait it out. And I think all these things just bring me joy. While happiness are kind of, in a way, I would say happiness is external to me. Little things around me brings me happiness, but the things within me brings me joy.
Joy. Wow. Wow. I love it. That's actually very deep.
Yep. Really,
Wow.
really deep.
Okay, Lizzie.
Really deep.
I love it. So things outside give me happiness, things within is joyful.
Yeah.
Love it. George, you have your points written out. We're here.
Yeah, so I was taking notes. Okay, so I feel like, adding to what Uzi has said, joy and happiness are both outward emotions that is differentiated in different ways.
Mm,
So both are outward emotions. And with joy, there's no expectation or no burden, no weight to that. So whatever brings you joy should not necessarily come with an expectation or like a trade-off in a sense. But with happiness, it could be accompanied by some sort of idea or some sort of expectation or some sort of like experience. So uh, with happiness, I feel like people tend to tie it to something.
something, yeah.
So it's easy to forget that, for example, you can still be happy, or you could still be happy with the simpler things. You don't necessarily need like the red carpet, the grandeur, like the like gourmet. You could still be happy with like something simple, right? Yeah. So
Backstory, guys. Also, before we started recording this episode, George asked
with
Uzi for
myself.
food, and Uzi offered what she had at home. But George said no because he wanted gourmet. So, backstory for that reference.
So you can feel joy and not be happy, because when it comes to joy, it's just you can wake up every morning and just be joyful, that you're alive, but then you're not happy that you're about to go write a 15,000 word dissertation. So it's just like understanding that one is, both of them are outward emotions, both of them could manifest in similar forms, but you have to be able to differentiate what is what. So being able to understand that, for instance, like this famous quote that people used to say that you happiness, yeah, something about like crying in a Bentley or crying in a, and it's like, for me,
I actually
yeah,
disagree with
The
that
rich also
because
cry.
I'm like, I'd rather cry inside a fucking Bentley than to
I
cry on
mean,
the bus.
private jet.
there's There's air conditioning inside. Come on, people. Let's be serious.
Exactly. Like I literally do not even like that quote at all. Talking about the rich also cry, or
The rich
cry
also
on the
cry, but you could
bicycle or
cry a
cry
bit
in the
more
Benz.
comfortably. Come
Honey,
on.
Yeah, I
what is
mean, like,
this?
people don't understand. It's like, but I mean, the main thing we actually need to look at in differentiating both happiness and joy is understanding that, time is not on our side. And time is not something that we need to take lightly, because when life stops happening, all the other things that are are there will cease to exist, and we don't know what's on the other side. So like being able to cherish the space you're in that moment, and also being able to find your own sense of happiness, and being able to control what makes you happy and what makes you sad, or being able to enjoy your own personal joy and find the little things to be joyful about is really, really important. That's
So,
my own
and
take.
that would actually bring me to the next question of what are some things that you do personally that helps you with personal joy? For me, massage. Like I love my massages, my 90
Preach.
hours, not the 60 minutes, the old 90 hours
You know,
massage.
full
Like
body.
with baby girl life. I love to travel, even though my bank account is not like looking at me right now. It's not, we're not on the same page, but we go agree to disagree. I love to read. I love to read. I love to like watch some, movies or listen to music. I also like I recently actually found how much joy I get in talking to people. I'm not an extrovert, but I also get tired of people. So I'm like in between extrovert, introvert, whatever. Or
Ambivert.
like exactly. But the people that I really love, I enjoy talking to them. And yeah. So talking, traveling, massage, reading, what are some things? And also like okay, giving a piece of my creativity to other people. I found really rewarding recently since I launched Sense&Rants. Like some of my poems, I've had people like sent me random message, oh my god, amen, or oh my god, thank you for that, oh my god, that episode was really speaking to me, or I sent it to my brother and they could relate, or it encouraged them or something. Like it just like those random messages, like okay, Sense&Rants is going somewhere. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm being impactful in my own little ways. So yeah.
Do you want to go first, George?
I feel like I'm not giving you time to actually even think about your answers, but I'll go first. Yes. Okay. So for me, I used to write, but in my mind, I still write. I used to. I used to
In your
actually.
mind, what have you
Manifest.
written recently?
Manifest.
No, I have not written anything recently. I've not written anything in over like 5 years. And I actually have a website. I have WordPress, like I used to actually write. So for me, that was one of the earliest ways I used to put my own personal joy into, or I used to find my own personal joy. Because if there is one thing I think I'm actually good at, is being able to analyze and find a deeper meaning in things, or in conversations, or even like literature. I just find my own perspective and unique way of analyzing what people are feeling. And I also find joy in being able to hear people's interpretations of that piece of work as well. So I also really, really like to turn up. And
Quiet.
yeah,
That's true.
and turn up
Your
for
drink.
me.
You're forgetting your drink. The most important, the most important thing in all of this equation.
Turn up for me is actually therapy. It's music therapy,
Yeah.
because I enjoy being able to appreciate other people's creativity. And creativity in music is really, really important, because there's some songs that you listen to that take you places, and you just like feel like you are there in that recording studio with the artists, giving the artist tidbits. So like I love to uh, be in a space where music just drives in a sense, because there's a lot of, 9 to 5 slash work and family and life going on, that I feel like I guess do all these things before my bones cannot, keep up anymore.
Your bones are dry and weary.
Ah! But yeah, even when my bones can't keep up, I will roll into that club
You will
with
be
my
there.
cane. I will be there.
Your
So like,
grandfather like this, shaking it.
so yeah, turn up and then take a break for the whole day, the day after, or
Yeah.
if I can, keep going. So like turn up is another big one. I don't know. And the third and last big one is travel. Travel for me is really, really important. I stress this a lot with my family and with my friends. And I'm just like, sometimes your bank account might not agree.
They don't.
That is the reason why you need to make connections, make friends, meet people, be ready to sleep in an RV, be ready to, camp, be ready to, well, not camp in that sense, but be ready to
Yeah. Do a
because,
hostel or
because
something.
since he knows I don't like that
As a joke, I'm
nitty
like, nope,
gritty
we don't do
nitty
camping
gritty
around here.
camping. But camping is like, it's still posh, but it's still camping, under the
Yeah.
stars.
Glamp.
But yeah, a glove,
Yes.
yes, yes. So like travel is really important. Like sometimes it doesn't necessarily need to be you getting on a plane and going. You could easily figure out a place in your state, in your city, go on a road trip, go
Yeah.
see, go out there and explore. So I feel like that is one of the things that, those are the things that are for my personal joy and enhances it a lot. Yeah.
Nice. Uzi.
I think for me, the top thing that's part of my personal joy is self-care. So, like you said, I go to the spa, just go to the restaurants, have a nice meal, just be great and be happy with myself.
Mhm.
Secondly, I'll say traveling. In the last year, 2020, I didn't miss a lot from the pandemic, to be honest. Like I could live with any of those other things, but the one thing I honestly could not live with was traveling. Like the
Yeah.
fact that I was grounded, I couldn't bear it. It was insane. And I think also this is digressing a little bit. George coming to the UK was a perfect timing because it just gave me someone to explore the UK with, like someone to make UK memories with.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
was
Yes.
just perfect, because I think that helped me keep my sanity in place. And then I also love to read. Like I love to read. And in a way, I feel adulthood steals that from you because there is all these other
Mm.
things you just have to do
Yeah.
and you don't just have the time to sit down and read a book that if it's not a self-learning book, if it's not a book about your PhD, if it's not a book about this, just
Work.
read a
Yeah.
book you love to read, a fiction, whatever you love to read, just do that. So that gives me a lot of joy as well. And music gives me life, honestly. Like
Mm.
dancing to music, singing to music, whatever, it gives me so much joy. I just love it. I can stay hours. I'm not a great singer, but I can stay hours just doing covers of songs that would never be released, and I'm just happy and I'm just vibing.
Grammys in your room.
Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
That gives me so much joy. And I think the last thing then that I would say brings me joy is my family. I've been sort of blessed to have a very tight knit family, very close knit family. Like I could actually call my sister my friend,
Oh,
and my family brings me joy.
that's nice.
And when I think of them, talk to them, be with them, I'm very, very happy in that moment. I'm very joyful just being with them. And oh yeah, like you said as well, I love talking to people. I'm a talker. You see, this is why I don't like clubs because you can't talk in a club. The music is too loud. You can't talk there. But I love house parties because yeah, you can have a conversation. So I'm a talker. And that's why I love this podcast as well, because when you talk to people on the same, like people with similar ideas or people you could just have interesting conversations with, I
Mhm.
love to do that. Like it's something that also brings me joy. So yeah, I think these are like things that enhances my state of joyfulness and I love it.
Nice, nice. Yeah. That talking about music actually last year, something so I was in a class and one of the instructors mentioned about how he writes screenplays to just one music. Like he just puts it on replay and like just plays it and writes and writes. And I was like, that's interesting. Because I write with complete silence or like just with away from distraction as much as I can. I was like, let me try around like 11:30 or so. I put on Jacob Banks' Slow Up.
Oh, that's a good song.
Yes,
And
that
That's a good
song
and
song.
I'm
is sweet.
telling you, 6 a.m. in the morning, Motraya was still writing the script. I'd
Oh,
never done
wow.
it before. I'm telling you, you were so phenomenal. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, now let me try to do it again. But I don't want to spoil that one
Spoil
memory.
it.
you know, so
Mm.
I'll try
Yeah.
again. But yeah, I love music, but I'm a terrible dancer. I am a terrible,
We
terrible
need to teach
dancer.
you. I need to teach you and George. I've been trying to teach George for the past 1 year. That's
I,
not
I'm,
working.
I
I
think
can
I've given
It's
up
never
on
not.
figure
dancing.
it out.
Oh, what is just give me alcohol and I will tell
I'm
myself
like,
right
George,
there.
George, move this way. And George is just like, I'm like, nope, that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
My upper body does not sync with my lower body. So you see two halves doing this and that.
Yeah, I'm a terrible dancer, but you know what? We'll move. We'll move. So as we round up the episode, is there something else you guys want to share, or are we?
I think I'll
Yeah.
just say one thing. It ties into what George said. It's like that being open-minded or not being too rigid
Mm,
in things, having accommodating that flexibility. I think some people start living life with a set of rules or principles or whatever, and they stick with it. It becomes like this box that they live within. And when you can't break out of that box, everything they know exists within this box. And you don't know something that could actually uplift you or something that could bring you joy could literally be on just outside this
outside.
box. But because you're not willing to shift in a position, you're not willing to even try, you just say, okay, no, this is the way it's been done. This is the way I've always done it. This is the way, this is the way. And then you deprive yourself of that opportunity to experience something new that could actually be very wholesome and beneficial to you. So I think what I want to say is like, just keep an open mind. Like try, like I say, this is my mantra, try something at least once. If you don't like it, at least you tried. That's how you know you don't
Yeah.
like it. You're not saying I don't like it based off of
Somebody said,
probability. That's yeah, probability. Or maybe I would not like it. But well, you haven't tried. Come on.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think in a way for people to enhance like their joy and even increase the things that bring them that temporary happiness is just to be much more open-minded, much more willing to try things. Put yourself out of your comfort zone. Take risks, like you say. I mean, we are not getting out alive anyway, so might as well.
We all enter the
Yeah.
box, or mat if you're Muslim, or
Yeah.
get burned if you want to be cremated. But
Yeah.
Exactly.
George,
So for me, I think what I would want the audience to take away from this, and you guys as well, is to, forget happiness, pursue joy, because even as Oprah has said it, like joy is what's up. Joy is where it's at, because happiness it could it could go at any point. But joy, if you can find that one thing or things that gives you that personal joy, you can do it over and over and over again and not get bored from it. And
Yep.
we also need to look deep within ourselves into our cultures, because we sometimes tend to hold ourselves back from joy in order to fit in with the culture that we found ourselves in.
mm,
And that is something that has pretty much led to so many people not having, let's say, for example, the best university experience, or the best secondary school experience, or the best growing up experience, or even the best living experience
mhm,
in general. So being able to, look deep into our own cultures to find the things that are holding us back from going out there to find these joyful connections, these, joyful experiences, these experiences that, are not crazy, they're not totally wild, but at the same time, there are, experiences that would, show us a different side of life, or a different side to, other people and other things. is really, really important, as Susie said. Like, you cannot hate something that you've never tried. And you cannot sit down and have a good opinion about anything that you've never experienced. So it's that point where you need to pretty much forget that happiness. Just go for joy and pursue joy with the fullest force.
With your chest.
That's it.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much. This has been a fun, quick episode. I really enjoyed, and I learned a lot from you too. Thank you so much for watching, listening to that episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below what gives you personal joy and what your definition of happiness versus joy is. Do not forget to please subscribe, share with friends and family. Follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Sense&Rants. And until next time, whatever it is you want to do, whoever it is you want to become, all you have to do is start. Bye.